Oh my goodness. The 6-game winning streak has come to an end. They hit ice and slipped off the road in Minnesota. Blazers fall to the Timberwolves at Target Center, 114-98. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Welcome into the fifth quarter. If you want to join the conversation with me tonight, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and join the chat there, where Air Weldon starts the night off with the audacity of the Wolves to beat us. What were they thinking? What were they thinking? No, the audacity of the Blazers to let this one slip away, my friend, because they were without the Timberwolves, without Mike Conley, without Julius Randle, without Anthony Edwards, who has been a thorn in the side of every team in the NBA because he scores in bunches, and they still got the job done. Jaden McDaniels stepped up big. He had 30 points and 10 rebounds in this one. Naz Reid found his shot. He had 23 points, 4 of the 5 starters for the Timberwolves in double figures, including Trailblazers legend Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. And this game,
he did have a moment, Chris.
What was that?
It was kind of interesting, but it was towards the end of the game, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think it was when he hit his last 3, he made kind of like a gesture towards the Portland bench, like nothing bad, but just kind of like a, hey, look at me kind of a thing. And I was like, like I could be reading too much into it, but it's like, that's the guy who probably remembers getting traded by this team after.
It might be reading something into it, but even so, yeah, he tends to be playing pretty well against the Blazers, which hurts. But this one came down to a few things, and defensively, the team didn't have the same type of defensive performance that they've had for the last 11 games, right? They looked a little tired. They looked a little lethargic. And then in that second half, yeah, the wheels fell off. They couldn't hit anything. The Timberwolves were hitting just about everything. At one point, I believe it was like a 30-9 run that did Portland in. And then some, boneheaded turnovers late in the game that just kind of stole any chance that you had to get back into it. And it was just a rough go for the Trailblazers. Again, looking at the box score, once again, Naz Reid had 23, 30 for Jaden Daniels. Rudy Gobert had 15 points, 11 rebounds, and a block shot, 21 from Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Rob Dillingham had 8 points. Jalen Clark had 11 points off of the Minnesota bench. For your Portland Trailblazers, Jeremy Grant, 5 of 15 from the floor, 2 rebounds, an assist, and 14 points, but also 4 turnovers, 3 of them crucially in that second half where everything just kind of imploded on Portland. Toumani Camara, he had 8 points, 7 rebounds, no assists, 3 steals, but even he was doing his best defensively, but he can only do so much as one guy. As good as he's been, you need everybody to be locked in, and just everyone just felt a step slow in this one. Even Toumani at times. 6 points, 14 rebounds from DeAndre Ayton, just 2 of 6 from the floor. So obviously you'd love to see him get more involved. Anthony Simons, 21 points, 5 assists, 8 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds from Denny Avdia, who has had a little bit of a stretch here where the games aren't as nice and consistent and box score filling as they had been. Shaedon Sharpe, though, 14 points off the bench, which not terrible, but not good. Not good, especially when you consider you look at the last game against the Kings. It was a 20-point game off the bench, 24 of them. You need more of that. He needs to be a consistent go-to scorer. He needs to hit the shot. He was just 6 of 14 tonight. Scoot Henderson, 4 of 9 from the floor, 12 points, 3 assists, and 2 turnovers. Rob Williams played just 8 minutes because he injured his knee. It doesn't seem to be anything serious. At least coach didn't note so much in the post-game press conference. Just felt it wasn't worth putting him back in to risk anything. But it does kind of raise the red flag a little bit because he's missed, about half this season he hasn't played, but it hasn't been the knee that has kept him out. The knees that he has had repaired that are his biggest injury, and this is the first time he kind of re-aggravates that. So you got to watch out and make sure you're paying attention there. But just overall, just a poor night for the Blazers. Shooting wasn't there. Defense wasn't there. They shot 7 of 35 from beyond the arc. That's 20%. We know how that goes, especially in today's NBA. You shoot bad from beyond the arc, you're going to struggle. They're also 37 of 92 from the floor, just 40%. Keep that compared to the Timberwolves, who are 43 of 82, 52% from the floor, 10 of 28, 35% from beyond the arc. So just kind of everything in this one imploded in the Blazers' face. but it's also one game. We'll see how things go in Denver. It's going to be a little bit harder, more so. I mean, yeah, Minnesota's posed a problem for them tonight, but they didn't have all their stars. I mean, you get to Denver, you get a Mile High, you get Nikola Jokic. It's going to be rough. So we'll see. Portland would ideally like to get one of these two games in Denver so you can kind of, get another win in your belt before you go into the All-Star break. But at this point, too, I mean, you had a bad game. I don't think you sit here and you completely just throw it all out and, oh my gosh, they're terrible. And come on. The last 11 games have been pretty incredible. You were bound to find the one where it just didn't click. And that was tonight on the road in Minnesota. And so now they are 2-2 against the Timberwolves on the season. Those two losses on the road to the Timberwolves. Again, if you want to join in on the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the chat there. And just like I told you pregame, make sure you're following Sean Hyken over there at the Rose Garden Report. Follow him on social at Hyken. He is live on the ground in Minnesota right now. He is on the road, which is pretty cool. I used to be able to travel on the road, man, and I think road trips in the NBA are pretty darn sweet. In fact, Brendan was picking my brain all pregame show, prior to the pregame show. Like, what stadiums have the best media dining? And I'm just, that is such a media member question to ask.
Always be looking out for number one, man.
Yes. Which ones have the best media dining? And the answer is nobody holds a candle to the Seattle Seahawks.
And I did ask, who's got comfy seats, because I've sat in some great ones. I've also sat in, what's the equivalent of uncomfortable lawn chair.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you get the nice, real comfy ones. Sometimes you get the ones that are like bar stools, but they don't even have like a back on them, and like you're about to fall off, and you're like, I'm going to be here for hours. I need to be able to lean back and enjoy myself every once in a while. You have Portland's media seating situation, which is not great because it is sardines in a tin there in media row. Like you feel bad because I'm always like the furthest one in, and there's only one entrance in and out of the row, and it's like, well, if I got to get out, everybody's got to stand up or scoot in, and I'm like my feet are hitting cords and pulling screens down. I'm just a clumsy oaf when I'm trying to get in and out of media row. But no, Blazers, they go to Minnesota and take the L. And I think if you look at this game, and quite honestly, the way the wheels fell off in the second half, not great. They were outscored in that fourth quarter, 38-14, which obviously is something, Chauncey will talk about in the post-game presser. But for the most part, I think if you can look at that and think, okay, well, you had a pretty off night, and you still had chances to be in it at certain points. That's not terrible. Maybe you still are heading in the right direction despite the loss. I think the struggle in this one, though, is that it wasn't the young guys. It was more of the vets that kind of cost them in this one. When you look at, again, DeAndre Ayton having a rough night offensively, which we've known to happen here and there. He has those really good nights. He has nights like this where he only takes 6 shots. But then Jeremy Grant was forcing the issue a little bit. And late in that game, when you needed ball security and a chance to get a bucket, he was turning the ball over, and you can't be doing that, right? So that's a little bit of a frustrating part in this one, especially when you go back to the trade deadline and what did and didn't happen, and you're like, well, a lot of people thought he was trade fodder, and now making some mistakes down there in the crunch time that hurt us. But it wasn't just Jeremy Grant. It wasn't just the fourth quarter where, again, they were outscored 38-14. It was the whole game. There's everything that goes into this, and this was kind of one of those games that from the jump on, it just felt like Portland just wasn't in it. Like I don't know what it was. It wasn't travel. They weren't playing on a back-to-back, any of that. It was just one of those games, man, where nothing was clicking. And then this team, as we've talked about before, man, if the shot's not falling, then boy, howdy, they better make sure that defense is 110% locked in, which it wasn't tonight. So you get the worst of two worlds, right? No offense, defense not getting stops. And they run away with it. Like I said, that second half was not good basketball for the Blazers, especially a 38-14 fourth quarter in favor of the Timberwolves. 14 points in a quarter in today's NBA just sounds crazy. But it happened tonight, and Portland takes the L. Once again, if you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the chat over there. We're going to take a quick break here, though, on the fifth quarter. When we come back, it's time for our shot of the night and our drive of the night. Continue to look at this box score, break down what exactly went down in Minnesota. This is the fifth quarter presented by Coors Light on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
It's time for the fifth quarter shot of the night on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Back up top to Obvian out of Simons. Open three on the way. Got it! 19 for Anthony Simons.
It's time for the fifth quarter drive of the night on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Left top to Garza, deflected and stolen. Scoot has it in the open court. The drive and the smash with the right hand. Scoot Henderson with authority.
Welcome back into the fifth quarter. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Plenty of things to get to in this one. A couple questions coming through though. Jason asks, pardon me, basically. I haven't watched a ton of Blazers this year for one reason or another, but who the heck is Chris Murray and where has he been that he's been getting playing time? Well, Chris Murray is the, brother of Keegan Murray, right? They look the exact same. They're twins, or so I'm told. Keegan Murray, star there in, maybe not star, but a very good player there in Sacramento. And I'll tell you what, Chris Murray, I think, has been an absolute baller this year, all things considered. He's not great, but he comes in, and every single time he's asked to do something by coach and fill in some spot minutes and play, he plays well. 12 minutes tonight, 9 points, 3 rebounds. Doesn't do anything exceptionally well, but man, he hustles. And what I love about him is he tends to not make a ton of boneheaded plays. Like he's got the basketball brain there, and it stays connected. He doesn't have the best shot or the best athleticism, but he makes smart plays a lot of the time. So I do like Chris Murray. Still plenty of growing to do for him. He's an end of the bench guy, Jason, and sometimes you get into situations like today where he gets a little bit of a run, but they're not leaning on him a ton. But I do like Chris Murray. Plays very, very, very hard and shows the effort, which is exactly something we've wanted to get out of this team all year long, is that effort. But I do think in this game in particular, man, it was a weird game because I think the Blazers just maybe focus wasn't there. Certain things about preparation were a little off. The fact that the offense was running a little bit through Jeremy Grant late, which led to some bad turnovers, doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, run that ball through your guards and let them do their thing. I don't know what we're trying to do there. I haven't done that a lot this year at all. So you put yourself in a weird spot. And we'll hear about it from Coach here in just a second here when we get to the coach's corner. But this idea, too, that we hear constantly about, like, oh, they didn't have their stars today, so things were just a little bit different. I've never understood that. Maybe I need to do a deep dive and understand why that's an issue. But if I look at a team who doesn't have their full complement of stars, then I'm going to do everything in my power to make that team have to adjust to me. If a team is missing Julius Randle, Mike Conley, and Anthony Edwards, you should never at any point during that game have to adjust to what they're doing. They should feed right into your hand, and you should make them adjust to you. And even when you find healthy teams, certain coaches around this league always wait for what's going on and then adjust to what the game is presenting them. And I've always been the type, why? Be the coach who makes everybody else in the game adjust to you. And then everything is going to play into your hands that way. Don't be caught second guessing. Just go. So I've never really understood that. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and join the chat with us there. We'll head out now to Victor. Victor, welcome back into the fifth quarter. What do you got tonight?
Hi, Chris. Thank you for your time. You made a good point about the adjustment. I'm not so professional to understand, but I can kind of feel that your comment is right on the target. So I don't have to even have a second thought. I don't have even a second thought on that. But my calculation, I use a simple math. I'm not really exceptional in breaking down all the nuts in the game. But the simple math said that one of the simple math said when you see all the games, all the previous games, that when Anthony Simon and Jeremy Grant, they scored more than 20 points, both of them, not one. Then about 90% of the time, Blazers won. Now in this game, well, you have all the numbers. Anthony Simon, well, Jeremy Grant, and then we have. I wasn't pleased with Ayton. I wasn't pleased at all with Ayton. I was pleased with Clinton. He had two block shots. It was very highlighted. It was very nice to see that. But the numbers like Ayton, sometimes he scored like 15, 20 points. I don't know, in this game maybe he scored 10 points. I don't know. But nobody could have scored. I mean, nobody could have scored. Even Ant didn't score too high. So what I'm saying is the scoring was a problem. I don't know. Maybe you can break down their defense, as you mentioned about the adjustment. But even their defense broke down in the end of the third quarter. So there were several problems with this game. Not only one. So you have all the numbers, my man.
Well, thanks for the call as always, Victor. No, you're absolutely right. It was more than just one. Yeah, we could talk about the defense and the offense individually, but they were all in one. I think there's preparation, there's offense not working, and then defense was not locked in. I mean, you saw the defense over the last 7 games during the homestand, and that was not the defense that you saw out there tonight. Also, just offensively, you weren't very efficient. Maybe you were using this time to experiment. I don't know. But I think you need to run situations through Scoot, through Ant, and Denny. I think even if Denny is having an off game, it makes sense to put the ball in his hands. And I don't think Jeremy Grant is very athletic, and I like the fact that he can create his shot at times, but I just don't think the ball needs to ever be in his hands to run or facilitate an offense. Get him in the block, move him around, and then get him out off ball, running around those off ball picks, get out to the 3-point line, get into the mid range where he can hit those shots. But he shouldn't be trying to set up an offense and wasting time. And it led to some poor turnovers by him. And DA had a few of those poor turnovers as well tonight. And like you said, sometimes he can go out there and get you 15, 20 points. Then he has nights like tonight where the offense just isn't running through him quite as much. He only had 6 shot attempts, which I've said this since day one. He needs more. You need to find ways to consciously get him involved offensively because the offense tends to be pretty good when it is run through him. But you can look across the board, Victor, and yeah, no one was making shots in this one. It was a pretty bad shooting performance all the way around. In fact, the best player shooting percentage-wise was Chris Murray, who shot 3 for 4 in this one. So, yeah, a lot of problems in this one. I'm not too worried or upset about it because, A, we know this team is going to hit their speed bumps many times this year, but also I said ride the wave, and so we rode the wave all the way to shore, man, until we crashed out, but we enjoyed the ride, right? Now you got to hope that, now you're not putting the surfboard up for the rest of the season. You're looking for another wave to go ride. That's what you hope that they do here in a little bit, right? You got 2 games before the All-Star break. Then you come back home and you get to face Luka Doncic and the Lakers, which still sounds weird. And again, there's still plenty of games here, still plenty of games to lose and still plenty of games to win. As long as the team is moving forward and playing good basketball is what you want to see. And I've said that all year long, that I don't care about the wins or losses if the team plays well. And today was one of those weird games where they lost, but they didn't play well. They definitely didn't play well, and you didn't see some of the good things that you've seen win or lose in the last 3 weeks. So I would hope they fix that for Monday in Denver because they're going to need it. Otherwise, they're going to get ran out of Ball Arena now since this changed names. They're going to get run out of that arena twice before All-Star break.
Not going to lie, the Pepsi Center had a better ring to it, Chris.
Pepsi Center did have a good ring to it.
Don't get me wrong, Ball Arena. I mean, I get it, but I think of the Mason jars, right? Mason jars.
I feel like at that point, you have to logically trade for Lonzo or LaMelo, so you have a Ball who plays a Ball Arena.
Yeah.
A Ball who plays ball at Ball Arena. I mean, come on. I still don't think anything will ever beat the player to landmark connection quite like Rodney Hood and Mount Hood residing in the same place.
I still have those pictures in my photos, where it's all the memes of little Mount Rodney, a little head on Mount Hood. Yeah, that was sweet, man. That was if you know, you know. If you don't, you just missed it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And catching up on the chat, yeah, Han chimes in, the same thing. I prefer to see Denny and Scoot with the ball in their hand in those situations. And chalk it up to an outlier. Hopefully they bounce back next game. And that's where I'm feeling, Han. I feel like we've seen really good basketball over this last 11 games leading up to this one, that I can look at this game and hope that it is more of an outlier. In the fact that they're going to lose games, and that's still something that I contend is going to happen. They're going to lose games down the stretch, just because even though the stretch of good games was nice, we We know what this team probably is at its core. There's wins and losses. There is ups and downs. I just don't like when the down involves not playing well at all. Like the team needs to play well, bring the energy, be locked in, right? And so chalk this one up. It's an outlier. Get back on the plane, and then coach, do what you need to do to lock it in. And the thing is, with any team who's ever on a hot streak, you guys have watched the NBA long enough to do this, unless you're, the outliers like the Golden State Warriors and the teams like that just go on absolute heaters for 82 games straight. Even the hottest teams tend to always hit that wall all of a sudden, right? And they have those outliers or those games that look bad, or even a stretch of games. I would just hope the Blazers don't turn this into a situation you don't want them to go the opposite, where they go and, lose 10 of 11 games or something like that. So I'd hope they bounce back from this, learn from it, lock back in, and go play better basketball in Denver. Because, again, if they lose in Denver, I really don't care, as long as they play good basketball. Played the Blazer basketball that we've seen over these last 7 home games, right? That wasn't what you saw in Minnesota tonight. If they played like they did at home, I think they probably would have won this game, or they at least wouldn't let that lead that they had slip away. Keep in mind, this team led by as many as 15 points in this one. And then Minnesota led by as many as 17. That's a big turnaround. You can't let that happen. All right, this is the 5th quarter presented by Coors Light. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, it's time for the Coach's Corner. We'll hand out a game ball, and then we'll get out of here because we got to toss live to some Kraken hockey, or so Brendan tells me. He's pretty good at reading a log and understanding what's going on. Me, it's still a different language to me when I'm back there. So kudos to him for understanding how to read it. Chris Burkhardt here with you, joined by my man Brendan Slaughter on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620.
For the latest on tonight's game, we head to the Coach's Corner with Chauncey Billups.
I mean, the fourth quarter was awful. It was a rough quarter, but we lost the game, I thought, in the first half. In the first quarter, to be honest with you. I just didn't think we played. We took some really, really difficult shots when we didn't need to, knowing that this is a big time defensive team. And ball movement, offensive energy, we talked about was going to be critical. And we settled for some tough shots, and it threw our chemistry off a little bit, So it was long before the fourth quarter. I mean, we were up 13 at the half, and I literally felt like we was down 12, 14 points, just the way the game was going. The fourth quarter was rough, Brooke, but it wasn't the fourth quarter.
Did you sense there was maybe a lack of communication? Because that's something that's been such a strength of yours over this past streak.
Well, I don't know if it was a lack of communication. It may have been a little bit of that, because I didn't think it was very good defensively either, locking into, certain guys. We knew that Naz Reid and Jaden Daniels were going to try to go for it, I just don't think we took them serious enough. And this what happens, when you don't take people serious enough. These are, just because a guy plays a certain role when the star players are there doesn't mean that he can't go do, get 30, and we didn't quite believe that today in our team, and so we got taught a tough lesson.
So you think for the whole game you guys didn't play well defense because you held them under 30 in the first three quarters?
Yeah, I thought the defense was just okay, to be honest with you. We've been really flying around, and doing a really good job. But, you got to think about what they were missing. They're missing a guy that's had 90 points in the last two games. So their offense was going to be different anyway. They're going to try to find other ways to get it. But I just didn't think we were in sync like we have been. And that hurt us on both sides of the ball.
Did you think that in the fourth quarter, you guys not making shots, do you think that kind of affected on the defensive side?
I do. And I thought that way most of the way, to be honest with you. We didn't make shots. I mean, I think in the first quarter it was 1 for 9 from 3. I mean, it just kind of, when you go 7 for 35, that's tough. It's tough to win any game in the league anymore that way. So, obviously, that always has an impact.
What happened with Rob?
I think it just something came down kind of funny. I'm not sure what the diagnosis is and whatnot, but we just felt like playing him anymore wouldn't be healthy.
Who is the MVP tonight for the Trailblazers? It's time for Game Balls on Fifth Quarter.
That's a weird game, Brendan. I don't know if there's a game ball to hand out.
It was a weird game because the first half was so Blazers, and then can we get a game ball first three quarters?
Nope. I know who the game ball's going to. Game ball is going to Sean Hyken for being out on the road today.
Yes, I concur.
He was in Minnesota. He's covering this road trip, so shout out to Sean. Pretty cool that he was out there. Still weird when he sends me this pregame video. I'm like, oh, I forgot you're in Minnesota. How cool is that? Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Real ones travel.
Hey, you heard him there in the press conference. It's cool. So he gets the game ball today because it's just a weird game. I don't think anyone played well enough to say, hey, you get the game ball in this one. Thought everyone was just off. No one felt locked in like we had seen over the last few games. And the result was a loss. And, it happens, Brendan. It happens. You win some, you lose some. The historic run they were on, it does come to an end. But you know what? The wave was fun. Don't get too upset that it's not there anymore. How can you be, man? I enjoyed every second of that. And who's to say that they can't get it going again here? 2 games before the All-Star break against the Denver Nuggets, both on the road. All right, that's going to do it for the fifth quarter. But we'll be back on Monday with a little post Super Bowl, hangovers, right? We'll either be you'll have Chad in the 3 to 4, so you'll either be talking Eagles win or Chiefs win. that would be kind of fun. I mean, I'm not so super excited for the game, but I'll still watch it because
Who do you
I
got,
love
Chris?
football. I got the Eagles.
Okay, yeah,
got the
I think
Eagles.
Mahomes going for 3, but it should be a great game.
I think that you if you look at the advantages up and down the line, right? Like I think like with AJ Brown and co, I like the wide receiver core for the Eagles better than the Chiefs, but it's a small gap, right? I like the offensive and defensive lines. Well, like the offensive line for the Eagles better. Defensive line for the Chiefs is pretty good. So is the Eagles, but they're small gaps. Mahomes over Hurts, a little bit bigger gap, not a small gap, right? But still, Hurts is a good quarterback. I think
it's going to be a dandy. I really do.
I think the X factor is Saquon because the gap between Saquon and any running back you give the ball to in Kansas City, that's a massive gap. Massive gap. And I think if you run the ball and you keep that defense honest, Hurts can have a good game. I think Saquon is my X factor. And fly, Eagles, fly. Fly, Eagles, fly. But we'll actually be breaking down the important stuff. Did Travis Kelce propose?
I might have to put a prop bet on that one, man.
What guests show up at halftime? There could be a bunch of different things, Brendan. But you'll have Rip City Drive from 3 to 4. I will have Rip City, game day starting for you at 4 o'clock. And then, of course, 6 o'clock tip-off against the Denver Nuggets. But for all you hockey fans, keep it locked in right here because coming up next, we're going to toss live to Seattle Kraken hockey. Currently 6 minutes left in the second period. Calgary with a 1-0 lead over the Seattle Kraken. Once again, final score in Minnesota. Timberwolves 114, Trailblazers 98. For our super producer Brendan Slaughter and the boss man Chad Doing, I am Chris Burkhardt. This has been the fifth quarter. We will talk to you 4 o'clock on Monday for Trailblazers Game Day.